and welcome back to the Comic Lyra podcast, where we comically and literally look at comic books. I'm Ryan, also known as Comic Stan. I love comics. My co-host loves regular books, but then I make him read the comic books, so we do the talking of them. And with me, as always, my aforementioned complete co-host, it's Jamie.
I think we don't literally look at comics on the podcast, because to literally look at comics on the podcast, we would have to be doing a podcast where we are looking at comics while we're recording. I think we literally have looked at comics.
Yeah.
We figuratively look at comics.
But in the other sense, you could say we look at it to record a podcast. So in that sense, you could say we look at a comic and then talk about it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do
it's
know
talking more in the not so time-based sense. Is that a thing?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean. And it only struck me now listening to you do the new intro, which I do prefer. Can you remember the first intro?
Vaguely. I don't.
It was a lot of words.
And I edited it. It was a lot. We talking about like comic books, graphic novels, mangas, and then we're like
Penny Dreadfuls.
Yeah.
And then we realised they were
for a bit.
And then we realised they were actually just books.
You say I instigated it in the first place. So I was like, I said a thing, and I was like, by the way, I was wrong when I included that.
I will hand it to you. There was a level of self-correction there. I wasn't involved with it.
And we are nothing if not we have integrity.
We do have integrity.
Yeah, whatever the word for that is.
Are you integral?
I mean, we are integral to this podcast.
Yeah, I don't think either of us could do it on our own.
No, it'd just be the ramblings of a madman from either of us.
Well,
someone slowly going crazy in a room by themselves, talking to no one.
I mean, that literally sounds like my day job.
Yeah, that's what I do outside of the podcast. And speaking of madmen slowly going crazy.
Hey, nice little segue. We're talking about Batman.
And not just any Batman.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. It's not Ultimate.
No.
Because that's Marvel. It's
to do with the word I referred to as earlier. Do you remember what that was from like a minute ago?
No.
Do you want me to tell you what that word was?
Yes.
I called you my complete co-host.
Is it complete?
No, it's
Batman?
not complete. It's a synonym.
Synonym for complete. Whole?
Think this. Do you want me to give it away with a clue?
No, it's not Ultimate.
No, you just said it's not Ultimate.
I did, yeah. Oh, God, what is it?
This is why I make notes.
Yeah, it's why I don't. It's more fun.
What's funny as well is you literally have Batman on your socks right now as well.
On one of them.
Yeah, just one of them, listeners. Don't worry. He didn't go crazy and match his socks.
I think there's Superman on there as well.
Yeah, you got the Justice League on there.
Have I got is Wonder Woman on there too?
You got Superman, Batman, and the Flash. Maybe that's just the most recognizable symbols.
If Wonder Woman isn't on these socks, I'm going to take them outside and burn them when we're done with the podcast. Because that's
one.
Yeah, this sock.
You just pointed out that you're wearing the one sock.
Then I can go home in one sock.
Yes.
That isn't super misogynist.
Yeah. And it sounds like we're not going to get anywhere close to the title, so I'm going to say we are covering Absolute Batman.
Absolute Batman.
Yes.
Such a shit name.
Yep. I mean, it does feel like they definitely came out with like Ultimate Marvel 2.0, and then DC were like, Absolute Universe, and they was like, that's the same.
You know that meme where it's like, Mum, can we get
Ultimate Universe? No, we have Ultimate Universe at home.
And then then you get home and it's just Absolute Batman being an absolute knobhead.
Yep. And a little clue to, I think, how we both kind of feel about this in comparison to the largely superior Marvel Ultimate Universe.
Yeah. I don't hate it.
No, neither do I, but I've got a lot to say about it.
There are some things that I really liked about it.
Same.
There were some things that I thought were really cool, and there were some things that I thought like really justified it having that absolute tag and not just being like a standard. It's not 616 in DC.
No,
is
it's
it?
Earth 1.
Earth 1.
Which is something that, for the briefest of brief tangents, it's something I've always liked about Marvel compared to DC. Marvel, it's like, which universe is this? It's Universe 616.
Yeah.
I like that. They're like, yes, it's one of the infinite universes.
It's the 616.
Yeah, we've just labeled it 616. DC is like, which Earth is this? Earth 1? Oh, all right. Fuck me then, I guess. Like,
is
it an ultimate infinite universe? Yeah. Which one is this? The first one? Oh, fuck off.
It does speak to
Guess what the next universe was called?
Earth 2.
Earth 2.
Yeah.
Well, if this is the first one, that's the second one. Like, of course.
It does speak to a fundamental difference between the two companies, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that attention to detail. And
it's really fun for me when somebody finds out that I'm on a comic book podcast and they're like, oh my God, and I'm like, oh, what are they about to say? I love Superman. And I'm like, ugh. You like DC.
I wondered if I would bring you over to my way of thinking with being a Marvel fanboy.
I mean, we both know that I'm not as enamored of comic books as you are.
Yeah.
That's kind of my whole
But
shtick.
within your level of interest.
Within my level of interest, over the past 12 months, Marvel have given me more to be excited about.
Mm. And DC still has Dick Grayson, and that still hasn't won you over completely.
It's the only thing that would make the Marvel Universe better is more Dick Grayson. More Dick Grayson.
You would have hated it if you were reading comics when they tried to make him Rick Grayson. Because he lost all the things that made him special.
Oh, yeah, he was just Rick.
Yeah. He was shaved his head, so he didn't have that luscious hair.
I've been thinking about shaving my head today. I really want a buzz cut.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll put a picture on that on the socials.
Well, just me smiling with my new buzz cut.
Yeah.
Well, so for the listener,
before and after, obviously.
So for the listener, I have really long hair at the moment, and so I've been growing it out, and I've kind of lost sight of why I'm growing it out. So I think I'm going to braid it and then cut it off and donate the braids, because you can do that, can't you?
Yeah.
And I did it the last time I cut my long hair off. So I think I'm gonna I'm not enjoying my long hair anymore. So I'm gonna give it to some sad little kid with cancer who might enjoy it
and then
for a bit.
And then it's like, good news, bad news. Good news is you've beat cancer. Bad news is you're going to have to look like this for the immediate future.
It's just a photograph of me with my scruffy hair. But I was thinking about it and I was like, do I need to wash it before I cut it off? And I was like, yes, Jamie. You absolutely need to make sure that you're donating freshly washed hair.
It really says something that you had to ask that.
Well, I didn't ask
You got
it.
to the right answer in the end, but it took you a little longer.
I didn't ask the question of anyone.
Yourself, internally.
Yeah. You know, these thoughts just go through your head every once in a while.
No, you're the only one. No one else has that.
But today I was quite intense with my girlfriend because I was like, is it okay if I cut my hair off? And she was like, dude, I don't give a fuck. It's your fucking hair. And I was like, well, no, but you must have an opinion. And she was like, are you asking me if I'll still like you if you cut your hair off? And I was like, no, but also, yes, that's exactly what I'm asking you.
But the worst part is she might not herself know. And then when you do it, she goes, oh, I actually did prefer it with the hair.
I had a photograph of me with a buzz cut. And I was like, I will look like this. And she was like, yes, that's
how long ago?
2 years ago.
Okay, that's not too far then. If it was going to be plus 10, it was going to be that's not going to help.
If it was plus 10 and she was into it, I'd be a bit concerned.
Oh, we're going down a dark path now. Let's go down a different dark path, which is the Batman dark path.
Right, so.
One thing before, in general terms, you would describe how you overall felt. I think I was a similar way where really liked some parts were too similar, some parts were interesting. My biggest kind of ick with it, and I had this ick, is it's the similar thing to the Marvel 1602 thing. You just couldn't help yourself. You had to make a really obvious reference, a really heavy-handed reference to something.
It was sort of rife with it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there were a couple of cringe parts as well. Bits that literally oh, really? So we will get into those.
Yeah. Who wrote it?
It was written by one Scott Snyder, who is a kind of well-known Batman writer. He's written a lot of Batman.
Isn't he involved? Hasn't he been involved in some of the films and stuff?
So yes, but I think you're also thinking of Zack Snyder.
I am,
which is a common mistake. But he was I think he had some creative input in those DC films as well.
Cool.
But yeah, he's written a lot of Batman, so he knows his stuff. Depending on the quality of it, I can't remember if I've read any of his Batman stuff or not. Maybe not. And illustrated by one Nick Dragotta. So, starting with the arting.
Nick Dragotta didn't do a terrible job.
We should also make a point of saying that we did cover, if you haven't heard it, we did cover the first issue.
Which is 3 issues.
Yes, it's triple the size. We covered that along with the first issue of Absolute Wonder Woman and Absolute Superman in a multi-episode, in an episode about those first issues.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear our in-depth thoughts about the first issue, go listen to that episode. Timecodes in the description so you know where to find it. So for a brief overall of the first one, because I re-skimmed it, even though we'd read it before, but that is where the art is starting.
Yeah.
So starting with the arting. I do feel like it was good, good enough that I enjoyed it as it was happening. I looked at some panels for a little longer to be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I do like that it does feel a distinct style.
Yeah, I like that they redesigned Batman for it. I like the new suit.
Big Batman.
Big Batman, yeah. We're talking this is no Edward Cullen. Oh no, Edward Cullen Batman's kind of Big Batman, isn't he?
Is he? No.
Is his name Edward Cullen or is that his character?
That's his character.
Yeah, I like this guy as well. What's his fucking name?
His name is Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. I'm really sorry, Robert.
And the reason I remember that is because a podcast I listened to, when he got the caster's role, labeled him Robert Battenbat.
Robert Battenbat.
That's how you remember.
Robert Pattinson Batman was chunky Batman, wasn't he?
No.
Was he not a chunky Batman?
No.
I thought he had like a chunky suit.
No. You're thinking of Ben Affleck.
Am I thinking of Ben Affleck?
Yeah, Batfleck.
Batfleck.
Yes.
There's been so many Batman.
Yeah. Robert Pattinson was he was the shape of Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, that's a valid point. But no, I like chunky Batman. I like the suit. I like the bat wings. The bat wings are cool.
I love those hook wings. Like,
I agree,
that's cool. The best part, the best addition to him, I think.
And I like the moment where we see him as a kid design them.
Yeah.
That's cool. It kind of doesn't really... It does a heavy-handed job of explaining his affinity for bats, but we'll get into that later. Minimal jank.
Yeah. Very consistent.
Yeah, very consistent. I like that it's kind of dark and greasy.
Yes, yeah, but that's like almost a prerequisite for Gotham. But it does feel a little grimier than usual, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's dark and it's greasy, and I want that from Gotham. I don't want Gotham to look like Metropolis.
Tell you what, I do like some intentional jank. In some of those party animal and black mask, those masks, they look really out of shape, like really like almost like off kilter, disturbing shapes.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be, aren't they?
Skull eyes and stuff. Yeah, but when you look at it compared to like normal people, you're like, it does look janky by comparison. But I think with intentional and good effect.
Yeah, they're supposed to look a bit fucked up, and they do. Yeah, I agree with you.
Next to a normal person, they look more disconcerting when you're like, what shape is that head?
Yeah,
like,
what the fuck's going on there?
Yeah,
but that's not like Bruce Wayne's head being the wrong shape.
It's intentional.
Yeah, this is it. Like everything was where it should be.
Like the fighting panels.
Yeah.
When he's chucking people around with those hooks.
You see less of that after the first 3 issues, though.
Yeah,
it's all a bit more
less
somber.
Of it, yeah. Probably why that first issue is so big. It's like, we've got to get a lot of fighting in so people know what he's like, and then we can do story stuff after that.
That is really how it felt, isn't it?
Yeah. Because after that, it's all like, and then someone else is talking about it, like, then he did this. It's just like one panel of like a mid-fight. And you're like, come on, show us the goods. Show us the whole fight.
That one fight scene where he like filled that thing up with water and he knew it would be salt water, so he threw something in to turn it all into acid. Yeah. That was quite cool.
I thought it was going to be an electric thing.
Yeah.
But, acid, that's cool as well.
Acid, yeah, like fucking bathing your enemies in acid is pretty cool.
One of the guys was like, my fucking toes.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
cool.
No, he didn't say my fucking toes, did he?
He said, toes.
Because it does the thing.
Yep. The classic big two thing.
Yeah, which we'll get into later. Because it does it really badly as well.
Yeah, I did. For this, I wasn't paying as much attention to that, so I didn't notice it as much, but I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it.
Yes.
Yeah. There's that scene where, again, fighting, but with that blue-purple smoke from the smoke grenade or something.
Yeah.
But just that as a backdrop to the fighting, I thought was very cool. Cuts that guy's hand off.
Yeah.
At the bit in first issue, which great, like looks cool as well. I like they occasionally do the red panel for like a bit of violence, for like that one bit of violence. A lot of comics do it. I just like it whenever they do it. It makes you feel like when it's a really bright, vibrant red for one panel, it makes you feel that kind of like that feeling.
No, yeah, it looked fine. Do I prefer it to mainline DC stuff at the moment? I think I do.
Yeah, again, I think it's got that little more of a unique style. Which I think is the bare minimum if you're doing a separate universe within your comics, And
this is the cool thing about the Absolute Ultimate stuff, is that they can just be a little bit different. And again, they've not taken the bold risks here that Marvel are taking with the Ultimate Universe.
No.
Which is okay. Like, it's a different direction. It's an opportunity for them to retell Batman's origin story, which we got a lot of here.
Yep.
And it's an opportunity for them to reinvent the character in more subtle ways, which for me isn't as compelling as the complete overhaul we got in the Ultimate Universe for a lot of the guys. But I think it has allowed them to sort of step away from the current DC house style to a certain degree, and I think that works. I don't love Bruce Wayne's character design. I think he looks like emo Bruce Wayne.
A little bit emo, yeah. I think it's 24 and, well, that, to be fair, kind of story and art, like, this is the crossover point, let's say. We're kind of getting into story now.
Yeah.
I think he looks more emo here because, if you think about it, there's every chance that rich Bruce Wayne, or let's say normal Bruce Wayne, would have looked like that if he wasn't trying to pretend to be a playboy billionaire.
Yeah, and this is what I was about to say.
Maybe that's his truer self.
I think of Bruce Wayne and I think of him having a little bit of joie de vivre.
Yes.
Like, not much, because the character's quite somber and macabre, isn't he?
But when he's around other people as Bruce Wayne, he's putting on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's doing the whole playboy, billionaire, philanthropist
The thing of Iron Man.
I know, but
I mean, it kind of applies, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we see a more sort of somber, weird Bruce Wayne. He's a little bit of an outcast. He's a bit odd.
To be fair, we don't see much of him.
I think we see a good chunk of Bruce.
I think the most we see of him, so speaking of the differences, because I think that's what people will look to first for this kind of for this alternate title. Speaking of changes, one of the ones I found really interesting was the fact that his mates are the enemies from the normal universe.
Yeah.
Specifically, see if I can remember off the top of my head, Waylon Jones, who you see earlier, he's just a guy who likes crocodiles, so there's not that much to him there.
Yeah.
You've got a Harvey Dent, who's like a intern at the DA's office, like low-level kind of stuff, wearing a suit, handsome looking, whatever. Ozzy Cobblepot Penguin, he's already like getting into the underground, like the clubs and stuff, but like, you know, the not quite fully bad guy stuff, but like gangster stuff. You've got an Edward Nygma, the Riddler, who is just a really smart guy. Obviously, he's wearing glasses because that's how it works. And those are the friends you see in this, but you've also there's a whole thing with the Selena Kyle Catwoman character as well.
So there's the scene with them all playing poker.
Yes, that's what I was going to reference.
I enjoyed that.
Yes.
I enjoyed that passage. I thought that was fun. And again, even me as not being... Even as a reader who's not particularly immersed in the Batverse, I recognized who all those people were, and I was like, oh, that's fun, that's cool, that's interesting. I like seeing these characters under a new guise.
When they were first mentioned in the first issue, and it was Waylon being like, come on, you're going to miss Eddie and Ozzy and Harvey, and I was like, okay, his enemies are his poker mates now. Like, I thought it was just a cheeky reference. I was like, all right, calm down, which I'm going to be saying a lot. But when it then got to the poker table, I was like, okay, we're seeing them. Because I didn't know if we were even going to see them at all. Or from that point, he was going to be like, I'm too busy for poker now. I'm being Batman. And you just never saw them. And it was just a reference. So when he's actually sitting down with them at the poker table, I thought, okay, this is interesting. And then what I really liked is how he was using them for his Batmaning. Yeah. Without them even knowing he's this Batman character. Because he, first off, he gets a mask from one of the party animal gang member guys who he's fighting at the time, and he throws it on the table. Not even throws, he just kind of places
he slaps it down as a stake.
Yeah. And everyone's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, because he's a blue collar civil engineer in this, and he's rather than being rich." And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm doing the reconstruction on the thing that just got attacked by them. And I found this in the rubble. Like, hey, Eddie, what do you think of this? Could you track it or anything? And he's like, well, yeah, I'm bloody genius. So, yeah, I'll have a look at it. And I think, like, okay, Edward Nygma, he's very useful, obviously, to a Batman in this instance. And then he's like to Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin. He's like, what about you? Have you heard anything from these guys for your connections or whatever? And I was like, oh, I thought you didn't approve of me working in these clubs. Like, but now you're asking for help. Well, I'll tell you. And then he's like, and Harvey, in the DA, what are they saying about, like, is this to affect Mayor Gordon's election and all that stuff? And he's like telling him, like, well, no, because he wasn't doing very well beforehand. So there's no reason for it. Basically, I like how they have their special ways of helping the positions they're in now. Genius, gang member, working in the DA's office, they all are helping him in ways that he couldn't do as Batman. Yeah. So I like that it's not just, remember the enemies? They're his mates now. It's specifically the people he fought against are now actively helping him without even realizing they're helping the Batman.
And doesn't it stand to reason, like butterfly effect, butterfly flaps and swings, everything's different, this universe is a bit different, that those people that he would have been fighting in the Earth 1 universe also would have ended up being influential people in other ways in this universe, and it just so happens they've not become villains yet. I would imagine at a certain point, Harvey Dent's going to get two-faced.
Yeah.
I would imagine at a certain point, Batman's going to have to, like, start dealing with Ozzy.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, those friendships are going to break down, and I like that they're sort of sowing the seeds that these guys are all friends with Bruce, because he's going to have to start Batmaning against them, but also not compromising those friendships in real life so that people don't realize, right?
And that's also if they do go full villain. I think we'll get stories where they do, but put it this way, if they all just become villains, I'll at least be interested in, like you say, their pre-existing relationship. Yeah. There's been a thing where, like, Bruce Wayne's been friends with Harvey before he's become Two-Face, and has been a common thing. I don't think they've quite been like childhood friends as much of the time, so that could be a bit interesting. If they do go, they've all become the enemies that they are in the Earth One. I'm like, all right, fine, but the relationship makes it interesting.
I don't think that would be the coolest way for it to go. But you can. I was going to say I'd be
far more interested if they don't do it for at least one of them.
Yeah.
And maybe in a way where one of them has, and then you just assume the next one's going to be, but they don't. Or, they have a lot of room to play with it if they don't just want to go the A1 route,
Yeah, and this is the thing. They've left themselves some room that they can write into. Yeah.
Whereas Waylon Jones is just like, I'm going to open a reptile farm. It's like, all right.
Cool, have fun.
Yeah. You have no use, but you're a good guy, so, be happy.
Yeah. But no, I thought that was cool, and I thought it was a fun use of pre-existing characters in a new context. And I like those scenes. I really like the scenes with him as a kid with Catwoman.
Yeah, that nice little, they've got a little special connection, but now she's not here and we don't know why. I thought that was good stuff.
She's back, she's somewhere.
Yeah, they're like, oh, did you get a postcard from her? So there's some connection, but they don't know exactly where she is. So that is all interesting stuff. Big change. One of the biggest changes here is that it's only his dad who died. Yeah,
I was going to talk to you about this because
Thomas Wayne,
Batman Senior, Daddy Batman. We've met Thomas Wayne as Batman, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Flashpoint, which you loved.
Yeah, I loved. On record, loving Flashpoint. Who wrote Flashpoint?
Jeff Johns.
Fucking Jeff Johns.
Who also wrote the Watchmen sequel that DC did recently.
Yeah, man, it's just so many stinkers to his name. I don't really see the point in Bruce Wayne's mum being alive because he's still so jaded and bitter.
I think it's interesting that it shows him with a more familial connection than we've traditionally ever known Batman having.
I mean, again, it's just Ben Parker's alive. We should do something like that. That'd be cool. Do you not think they're just copying Marvel's homework?
No, because in this, he's still got that origin death that drives him.
Yeah.
But he's got someone to share the pain with.
Yeah.
As opposed to, if you compare specifically to Ultimate Spider-Man, P had both May and Ben until very recently with the whole terrorist attack killing May.
Yeah,
so
that's
this is kind of what if Bruce had that same pain, one parent, two parents, it's still a tragedy that's within that kind of similar vein.
Does it compound that way? I don't know.
We don't
have any dead parents.
Or we'll have to do some experiments. But what I'm saying
don't kill my mum.
I'm not saying you, we'll get a kid. But anyway.
Don't do that.
But the main point
is...
Yeah, we won't, obviously. Wait, I'm winking to Jamie. But
you can't do that.
What I mean is it how different is it that he has one of those parents? Not only you've got one parent, that's still good, but in a way that he's not completely alone like the proper Bruce was.
They don't particularly make a lot of use of his mum, though. We see her once, and he's just like, get out of my room.
Yeah, and I agree with you in that execution.
Get out of my room, I'm big Batman.
Well, there's the thing. A close person who does know he's Batman.
Yes.
Has he ever had... I mean, obviously, every iteration he's had it sometimes. But it is different enough from the normal way. He's got someone who he has to hide being Batman from, who he is very close to.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much anybody that ends up in Batman's inner circle knows that he's Bruce Wayne. Right?
Traditionally, it's been Alfred who is literally actively helping him be Batman, whereas now he's got a direct family member who doesn't know, and presumably he's going to keep it from her, hopefully for a while, because that'll keep it interesting.
Yeah, because he's not been Batmaning very long in this, has he?
No, he's basically just started. But I agree with you that the execution could be a lot better. So what I'm saying, all I'm crediting is the kind of the concept.
Yeah, again, I mean, I kind of feel like this is a lot of my issue with it. If we're getting into what I don't think has been executed very well here, it is that they kind of took the roadmap for writing Batman and said, right, we're going to take this out and we're going to change this and we're going to move this all around a little bit. And then they've not executed any of it that well.
Some things I think have been and some things haven't been.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of the, discussing what's good and what's bad about it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you, the execution of his mum being alive and stuff, other than him having someone sometimes to talk to and whatever, other than that, it's not making that much of a difference. I suppose the one thing is the one bit where she's like, oh, I'm helping Mayor Gordon, I'm going to become his vice mayor or whatever, assistant mayor, whatever the thing is. And he's like, oh no, this is dangerous, and I know it's going to be dangerous, and I'd really rather you didn't, kind of thing. So there's something there that could become something more interesting in the future, but yeah, it's not done anything wholly interesting as of yet.
But I would like to be positive for a bit longer. So something that I did think was quite cool is that they have to start with at least avoided Batman's Rogues Gallery.
Yes.
So the big bad that we have is new.
No.
Oh, is he not?
No. I'm surprised you even go that kind of like, oh yeah, this is a new one. Like, I'm surprised you jumped to that being like, how many of the, let's say 50 Rogues Gallery do you know?
Yeah, is this not a new...
No, so Black Mask, existing villain.
Oh, well, that sucks.
What's interesting is that normally he is a kind of C-level mob guy.
Yeah.
And so this is a very different, he's kind of been like leveled up quite a bit. But like normal Black Mask is normally literally just a mobster who wears a mask.
Right.
And he orders people to do stuff and he'll maybe like kill someone with a gun or something.
Yeah.
This one we're getting into, he's a lot creepier.
Yeah.
There's like a Illuminati-esque kind of thing. He's a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
Like, again, normal Black Mask is just like Gotham mobster. So this one is like, we've got connections in other states and in the police and in the government. They're like insanely rich. They've got another super secret Illuminati style group who are hiring who Alfred works for, who are trying to find out his identity and take him out, and they can't despite their resources. So he's definitely been leveled up like way higher than he normally is.
So it's not it makes sense that I wouldn't know who he is then.
Yeah, for a casual fan, no one would know unless you'd seen the Birds of Prey movie. Like, you wouldn't know who he is.
I don't know that I have.
I'm almost certain you haven't.
Yeah, I don't watch that kind of shit. I shouldn't really say that, should I?
Do you want me to head it out?
Nah, fuck it. I said it.
All right,
I'll stand
we'll
by
leave it
it.
in.
I mean, I don't.
To be fair, it wasn't a great film.
No.
It depends what you mean by that shit. Because you have seen superhero films, if that's what you mean.
I have seen some superhero films, but again, only when there wasn't another option.
But yeah, you weren't missing much with that one, to be fair.
No. So I think my point still stands. I think it's cool they haven't jumped in with the Joker or the Riddler or...
Well, you say that. Do you really not know what I'm going to say next?
No, shoot.
They're bringing in the Joker. They showed him getting on a helicopter at the end of the first issue.
Oh, yeah, they did, didn't
they're like, don't make jokes in front of this guy. Why? Because he never laughs at anything. That's why they call him ... the Joker.
Oh, yeah, so they've not used him yet, though.
No, but they're building up, and I was, with any Batman thing, like any property, film, TV, comics, whatever, they're doing a new thing. I literally count down how long before they do a Joker thing. Yeah. And they literally could not get to the end of the first issue before.
Yeah, no, I forgot that he was in the first issue.
Yeah, it's just that one. Well, I say there's that one mention. There's also a bit later. I mean, this is going to get into like what I kind of find a bit cringe about this is those heavy-handed references. One of which being Harvey Dent at the DA's office being like, yeah, I tracked down I tracked down some of the money, where the money's coming from the gang. It's coming from some company called JK Holdings.
Yeah, I did clock that.
Ugh, really? You couldn't help yourself,
yeah,
could you?
I clocked that too. Yeah, I mean, so...
Also,
really...
when they're playing poker, and I literally made the point of, as soon as they were like playing the round, I went, I bet Bruce is going to have a great hand. And then he put the helmet on the table. I was like, okay, maybe something else happening. He's like, by the way, triple aces. Yeah. I was like, it's not, I thought it was going to be like royal flush, like the really lame, like the really overused thing in a film where someone has the highest hand possible. He had the 3 of aces. I was like, all right, it's high, but it's not like overly high.
Yeah.
But then he was like, it's also this if you count the Jokers. Someone's like, Bruce, Jokers aren't welcome here. I was like, again. Yeah. And there's so many of those little moments where I was like, you were doing a good job, and then you tried that thing where you tried really hard to be cool or clever, and you just come off as lame or cringe,
Yeah.
And I know someone in their 30s saying lame or cringe is probably in itself lame and cringe,
it's
but
pretty cringe,
I acknowledge
mate.
it. I know that about myself. I don't think this comic does. There's another bit. Are
you suggesting you're more self-aware than the comic?
I think the makers of the comic, like judging by. Another prime example, there's a bit where, Alfred's talking about military stuff, and he's talking about like something retreating or like advancing
when
force.
To advance, when to retreat. Yeah.
But he refers to it as advancing force or something retreat, RR, whatever, and he calls it AF or RR. And then he literally, the thing about Batman is, just when I think he's going to retreat, turns out he's actually advancing. he's just advancing the entire time. And I'm like, all right, there's some, I get the analogy. It's interesting. Like, fair enough.
The whole passage was a bit heavy-handed, though.
But the worst part of that is at the end of that passage, he goes, thing about Batman, he's always advancing forward. Batman AF. Like, I literally gagged from how uncool that was.
Yeah.
That was someone trying to be down with the kids.
Do we even know what's cool anymore, Ryan?
I know when it's uncool. You know when you basically cringe when someone's trying to be cool and it comes off as, again, I'm not the beacon of cool. I do a comic book podcast. I know that.
Yeah.
But I can still recognize when it's like, Batman AF, bit edgy here. We're getting a bit edgy with this one. I was like, no, it's really lame.
Does
really
this lead me into the swearing thing?
Yep. Do your little tirade on the swearing.
Well, we all know how I feel about it. I think it's been well documented on this podcast. I don't like it when they use a bunch of random punctuation to denote swearing.
For a brief, if anyone has known before, I think this is an accurate sum up. You correct me if I'm wrong. You think that it's more of a shortcut to just use the punctuation bollocks instead of the swearing, rather than being more creative to write without the swearing and still get across the same meanings.
Yeah,
right?
I think if you're going to swear, you need to say it from your chest. And if you don't want to do swearing, then you need to write around it.
Yes.
And I actually went back to Tom King's Supergirl and flicked through a couple of issues, just skimmed it. At least when they do it, the hash marks add up to the right amount of letters for the fucking swear word they want to use.
Right.
But here, the hash marks aren't even the right length. So I can't even work out which swear word's being implied. And there's sentences where a swear word doesn't really fit into it in the right tense for the sentence. So I'm like, what are you trying to do here? Like, you've given me four like characters in a sentence where the word would be fucking, not fuck.
That's lazy.
That's such sloppy work, man.
Yeah.
Like, at least if you absolutely have to do the thing where you need to imply a bad word in your comic book written for children, you fucking reprobate, at least put the right amount of letters so as an adult I can go, I think they're trying to use the word fuck.
And if it's done right, you don't even need to think about it. You just jump to it straight away.
And it actually made me want to celebrate Tom King's Supergirl run a little bit for it, because at least when he did it, there was the right amount of letters there and I could easily ascertain what word was being used. But here, I couldn't even reliably tell what word they were using. So at this point, it just becomes a meaningless hole in the middle of the sentence that I have to decipher as the reader. I'm sorry, I didn't come here to do that much work.
And that also just takes it out of you as well. Like, if you are getting any kind of investment in the story and that kind of tunnel vision where you're really enjoying it and you don't even feel like you're reading a comic book, even if you get to that place, it's going to break you out when you go, what's that word?
Yeah.
And then you just snap out of it. And to be fair, I don't think this comic got to that level. But I mean, even if it had, it'd be kind of cutting its own legs out for myself, being like, just throw any random number of letters, characters in there and they'll get it.
It felt as though they were doing it to fit the speech bubble.
Yeah.
As opposed to...
Maybe it's the letterer's fault then.
I don't know who to blame.
I mean, DC as a whole, they put it out. They obviously had a look at it before they, okayed it.
Well, I don't know that they did, but somebody needs to swing for it ultimately, because, and again, for me, comic books are primarily a visual medium. That's where I derive. I've realised this is that actually, often the stories are quite formulaic, particularly in the big two. Often they're not saying that much. A primary part of my enjoyment from it is just looking at them. Yeah. It's like scanning through the page, enjoying the artwork, enjoying a bit of visual storytelling. But if one must include words, then get it right.
Yeah.
I mean, words are weapons, and one shouldn't wade into battle with damp gunpowder. I
like how you got as animated about that as I did about stop being uncool. We have our things that set us off.
Cool is interesting because cool, there's an ease that comes with being cool.
I think what I should get at specifically is I don't care if something is cool. I don't need I need my comics to be cool. I like things that are earnestly uncool. For me, what's so bad about it is, and this applies to everything, or any kind of entertainment or fiction or whatever, you can tell, when you get that feeling when someone's made a really, really big swing and a miss to appear cool, like that, or edgy, or clever, like any of those
I agree
things.
with you.
And it's that really bad swing and a miss, but they don't realize they've missed. Like, that's even worse.
And there's certain things that I like that expression, earnestly uncool. Scott Pilgrim was kind of earnestly uncool.
Yeah, and even just earnest, like, because that's more relatable, is someone who acknowledges their own uncoolness.
But I think Scott Pilgrim's kind of aged into being quite cool.
Well, yeah, we've aged. He's aged with us, in a way.
Well, no, this is the problem. He didn't age.
No,
but because it was so earnestly uncool, it was talking about things that have become quite cool now. Like, there was a whole bit where there was a recipe for a lentil stew or something.
Yeah, was that vegetarian lasagna? Or
Vegetarian
something like that?
lasagna.
I might be wrong, but something like that.
And I think the whole thing they were trying to convey is that actually they were all poor and couldn't afford meat.
Yeah.
But now you're looking at it and you're like, vegetarian cooking is kind of cool at the moment. And it has been for a while now. And it's like, it's kind of earnestly trying to convey something and it ends up being quite cool. But yeah, you're right. This is just... It's heavy-handed.
Yeah, heavy-handed, and again, in the references and in the parts where it tries to do things that they think people are going to go, oh, that's cool. Like, that's what I'm getting at.
It's kind of like it's referencing itself and it's winking at you.
But then there's another moment, I think you'll agree, where they kind of take that same swing, same kind of size swing, but it's a little more controlled, a little more measured than saying Batman AF.
Go on then.
What I mean is the Bat truck.
Yeah.
So that is a very much a, what if the Batmobile was a massive fucking dump truck, right?
And that is kind of cool.
And you go, and I go, all right, let's see it. And then he does. I go, yeah, that is cool actually, because it's simple and it's just what's cool. Batmobile as a massive dump truck that's like the size of a building almost, right? And if it's very simple, very cool, because it's 1+1.
The Bat bike was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, but I think we've seen on a bike, we haven't seen a Batmobile the size of a house before.
Yes.
But then again, they do a little bit, they almost toe the line as well, where they get to the bottom of this building, whatever, and Alfred, who is, for anyone who hasn't read the issues, whatever, Alfred is kind of like a spy for a secret organization that is needing him to report on stuff, and he goes across the world, and he's a kind of international man of mystery here for some reason. But he's kind of following Batman on the behest of this organization, and they get to the bottom of this building where Batman's just escaped from the pie animal gang, and he's like, I hope you have a way to get us out of here. And then Batman just like moves a lever and he's like, what the hell? And he's like, do you have a vehicle here? It's like, yeah, he's standing in it. Because it somehow was part of the building. Yeah. And Alfred, who met him there, didn't realize he was in the truck.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of stuff, I'm like, you're towing the line there, but it is fun.
It's fun, isn't it?
That's the thing. That is the difference. Big building sized Bat truck is fun. Alfred already being in it and not knowing he was, and then be like, whoa, that's fun.
Yeah.
Going Batman AF is not fun.
No.
And that's why it just comes off as uncool.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I do hear you. And it did have its moments. Like the whole poker scene, I'll go back, I'm probably going to keep coming back to it.
It was a good scene.
It was a fun scene. It was a fun little thing, and I got a real sense of all these distinct characters, and I was like, oh, it's really cool. I'm going to see these guys do different things. I mean, I don't know if everybody's had a bit too much Penguin recently, but...
I mean, I'll take more Colin Farrell Penguin for sure. He's won a bunch of awards for that.
Quite
deservedly
rightly.
so.
I mean, Colin Farrell's a great actor.
Yeah, 100%. He's one of those under talked about. Well, I mean, he's getting his praises more nowadays, but he's kind of been underrepresented because he does a lot of weird roles.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I think Colin Farrell and Hugh Grant were both...
Hugh Grant's doing great stuff now.
This is the thing, right? They were both these sort of foppish, good-looking British guys, and they did
Colin Farrell's not British.
Yeah, you're right.
And now we wait to see if Jamie can remember what nationality he is.
He's Irish.
He is Irish, yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Are you thinking Colin Firth?
I was thinking of Colin Firth.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Colin Farrell's always done fantastic character acting.
Not always. When he first starting out, he did like phone booth and SWAT. So he was just like
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
boy action kind of, stuff like that,
I'm
doing an
thinking
American
in Bruges.
accent. Yeah, once he got to that in Bruges, point of his career, that's where he started doing the weirder stuff. But going back to heavy-handedness within it, I mean, the only one I noticed, and it was one that made me kind of go, ugh, really, was like, we discovered these prisons, these secret prisons called arcs. Like, it's on a computer
off.
thing. It's like they're lettered A to Z. So
Yeah.
Arc A is in Santa Cruz. The Arc B is in Russia. Arc C is in China. In Gotham, we have Arc M. And I was like, all right, calm down.
In Gotham, it should be Arc G, dickheads.
No, Arc M. Like,
It's Arc M, Arkham Asylum. Yeah,
Exactly.
I knew exactly what they were referencing. It was like the most heavy-handed one.
exactly, which is why I made note of it, because, Also, now the fun part, Alfred being like, well, I hope we both get out of here, then maybe I can help you out some more. And Batman's like, yeah, just pull that lever for me, can you? Ejector seat.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fun. That's fun without even trying to be cool. That's
Yeah.
just pure fun.
Yeah.
It's just made me smile, if not fully laugh.
Yeah, ejector seat's great.
The interesting, another heavy-handed bit was the Riddler. Oh, Edward Nigma
Yeah.
is here. He's
I'm
making a
calling
robot.
it the Riddler.
Exactly. No, it's like not. It's when they obviously skirt around.
Yeah.
It's like I think I might call him like Riddle Man or Riddle Bot. Like he's
Yeah.
made a robot basically. And to be fair, I like that. Oh, maybe he'll go in this kind of direction rather than just being a villain who does riddle stuff. Maybe he's like makes a robot that goes evil or something like that. Like a little different from the normal. So I like that they're laying some groundwork for what might be some interesting stuff early on.
Yeah.
But Arc M, JK Holdings, all that stuff. I was just like, I just kept making note like lame, heavy-handed, lame. I was like, oh, the Bat Monster truck was cool.
Yeah.
And then lame again. I tell you what, I thought was two more kind of most interesting points story-wise.
Yeah.
One was, so issue 4, so while we're doing issues 1 to 5, that's what's come out when this comes out, issues 1 to 5. Issue 4 is just all backstory.
Yeah.
And it ends off a cliffhanger at the end of issue 3, which really should have been like the issue 4 cliffhanger, because it's like the big part
going
before
into the end game,
which I will get into. But in issue 4, we just get all the backstory, even though we got a bit of backstory in the first issue.
Yeah.
But we get all the how did Bruce react to the death, like
and the zoo stuff,
how he became the engineer and the genius and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. But then we see his first kind of outing as Batman, right? And they do an interesting kind of reversal here. So normal Batman, we've seen like year 1 where he's first becoming Batman, the main Earth 1 one. And normally it's a case where he starts out like military stuff and balaclava. Yeah. And he's just doing that kind of stuff, like trying to fight crime, be a vigilante. And then he gets to the point where it's like, look, they just think I'm a bloke in a balaclava. Like they're not scared of me at all. That's when he starts going down the route of maybe I need to build an aura and a symbol and all that stuff. In this one, he goes straight to Vampire Bat.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I saw that happen, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those criminal retellings of what happened.
Yeah.
Like, he jumped out of nowhere, then he bit and sucked the blood out of one of my mates and, that kind of thing. And then it turns out Bruce Wayne's like, this is kind of stupid. I'm wearing silicone fangs with a paralyzing agent that comes out of the fangs. So he's like, oh, you were literally biting dudes' necks with like red contacts and stuff like that. So I find that interesting. He jumped way into the theatrical stuff first.
And then scaled it back to Batman.
Exactly. And I thought, you know what? That's fun and it's clever and it's interesting. Because it made me kind of stop and go, wait, what's going on here? And then I was like, well done. And then, he scales it back down to, I'm going to get really fucking big. Because he's like normal size that, but he's like, I'm going to get really hench, become an absolute unit, and I'm going to like make the wings and stuff. And like you mentioned earlier, really like that with the hook wings. He having like a hand control over the end of the what's he called, the bat finger, I think he calls it, or something.
The bat finger.
Like he's doing like a recording, like testing the bat finger or something like that.
Yeah.
He must call it the bat hook or something. Someone must call it the bat hook.
Batfinger is Batfinger from now on.
Fair enough. He was co-created by Bill Finger, so that would actually be a. You knew this, didn't you?
Did you?
Yeah.
Just always makes me laugh. Yeah, what was the other guy's name? The guy
Bob Kane. He was the bad one.
Fucking Bob Kane, man.
Yeah. So I like that kind of like he's starting a really Phantom of the Opera-esque Vampire Bat style. The other one is that it does get into what becomes a plot point of money and wealth in the
Yes.
sense that because he's taken on all these pie animal dudes or whatever, it gets to a point where it's like, we can't beat him. He has taken out all our guys. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's offer him a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And that I think makes perfect sense. If you were a criminal organization and a vigilante was taking you out one by one, you would be like, we've tried killing him. That doesn't work.
Let's just pay him off.
Let's try something else.
And they set it up that they do have immeasurable wealth because the what are they called? The guys in the masks?
The pie animals.
The party animals. The mask is linked to like a crypto wallet.
Yeah, and you know what? That actually potentially answered one of my criticisms when we just did the first issue.
What? Why they were doing it?
Why they were doing, like, you know, all the moments where it's like, oh my god, the pie animals, they burned down an orphanage, or another was like, I can't believe they got the mother and the child and tied them to the bumper cars, and like the most horrific stuff.
Yeah,
and I thought it would, and like one's like, since they came in, the murder rate's gone up 700%.
Yeah.
So when we read that first issue, I was like, they're really going over the top of the how evil are these guys, this gang.
But
oh
now
my
it
god,
makes sense.
Exactly. As soon as I read that part, I went, oh, now it makes sense. Like, that's why they're doing the most evil shit. Because then they haven't mentioned it yet, but as soon as you mention like crypto and internet access, I think you might have been the same. I immediately jumped to, oh my god, there's some kind of like subreddit where it's like, top comment, the most evil thing is what we do tonight.
Yeah.
And it's obviously always going to be the most evil, sickening thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that answered a previous qualm that I had with the first issue, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But then getting into the money side, I think it makes sense they would get to a point where this working class Batman would get to a point where it just happens to be the first villain, but someone would go, you know what, I've got loads of resources, here's some money. And also to the point of like, we'll give you the resources. We'll give you all this money. We'll get out of here, right? Because we can do other stuff. We can go elsewhere, but we'll go, you take the resources, and then you can become a rich Batman. Imagine that. And I like that parallel to the Earth One. It's like, imagine if you were a billionaire, imagine all the Batmaning you could do. Like, you'd be unstoppable. So I like they went that route. And then naturally Batman's like, no, I'm Batman. Well, he says yes at first.
Yeah.
He's like, and that's the cliffhanger at issue 3, which I should have been the issue 4 cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But he's like, you know, he says that he takes it because Alfred Pennyworth's like, yeah, you take it, because then when they're getting all this money together, my people can track them and then we'll find them. And then, but Batman's like, yeah, but when they get away, it's like, well, they might. And he's like, I don't want to. And I was like, come on, just bloody do it, all right? And then he accepts it. We know he's not going to already. But I like that they didn't bother trying to trick us like he would.
Yeah.
Because like, obviously he's not going to. So we know it's a trap. Or he knows he's trying to, you know, help her. Then he gets all the money and puts it on a light and it makes a bat shape. I didn't quite understand that part. I wasn't sure what was going on there.
Well, there was a light for his dad, wasn't there?
At the zoo, yeah.
And they had to turn it off at a certain point.
The zoo way died, if we hadn't mentioned it earlier. But yeah, so, and then he's got it back on. He's shaped the money into the bat shape, which is only because it's such a thick bat. Yeah. You can only just about tell because there's little ears like right at the top.
Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, and then something happened to the money, which I'm not sure what that was.
Yeah,
so
no, I wasn't.
Maybe I didn't understand. I was rushing through the end a little bit.
I also didn't follow it very well either, mate. Oh, they did the other heavy-handed thing that I need to mention, which is that Alfred started plotting the locations of all his safe houses on a map, and it drew a giant bat.
Yeah, again, one of those like, come on. Like,
yeah, it's just ugh.
Do you really need to do that? Like,
it wasn't even a very well-drawn bat.
Well, that's the problem. His bat is almost just a rectangle, and then you have to almost squint your eyes to be like, oh, right, I see the ears. Like that. And that was the problem with the money. I was like, he's made a rectangle of money. Oh, it's that bat, right? Okay, now I think I get it.
And if you're changing up Batman, the one thing you don't change. I
feel like you're about to say the one thing he does change is something that's actually changed quite a lot over the years of Batman.
Is the logo?
Yeah, it's changed like loads.
Has it?
Yeah. If you Google Batman logos over the years or something like that, there's 100 like posters of like, this is it in 1950, this is it in 1960.
So
They're all
different. Has changed because I think of it as being pretty static and pretty iconic.
You probably remember one of the films, probably The Dark Knight or something like that, I'm guessing. Probably the most famous one, but yeah, especially in the comics, it's rife with like everyone wants to make their own unique one and be remembered, you know, like have that to their name if they then do a good job on the comics, you know. The probably one of the most iconics is probably the animated series one. with the yellow
Yeah,
background.
that's what I think of.
So that one I think was originally started because they wanted to make the logo clear, maybe for the comics,
to put it on
maybe
t-shirts,
or for merchandise and stuff as well. But then they did make an interesting thing later where someone did in a comic, I can't remember who or what iteration, but they made it so that someone was like, why is the thing yellow? Like, why have you got this thing that kind of shows up clear? Why don't you just have all black? And his explanation is and this is applied to all logos, even without the yellow afterwards.
Yeah,
he has this big bat logo on the chest because from a certain distance, if someone tries to shoot him, they're going to naturally aim for the logo
because it's armored.
Yes, that's like the strongest armor is the big sheet on his chest, as opposed to like the head or one of his arms or whatever.
Yeah.
So they kind of not even retconned it, but when they
made it work
retroactively, be like, oh, this is why he does it, and it's actually a smart reason. But yeah. Going back to the money, obviously he turns it down. This is one thing I didn't like about the ending. He then gets trapped under. He takes a few out. There's a big guy who we chopped the arm off earlier. He like grabs him in a bag. He's like, "I got him now, boss." And there's like, "Oh no, he's got spikes coming out of his shoulder blades." And the guy's like, "Ah, get me off him!" I thought that was fun.
Yeah,
but he then gets trapped under some nets, and then he's like, they kind of got him pinned down. At one point, someone makes a reference to like use the phrase like "reach out," and he literally grabs the guy, the black mask guy, and then he just starts getting stabbed with his own like batarang things that come out of his head and stuff. I can't remember. Someone shoots. I think Alfred is on another rooftop with a sniper, manages to shoot stuff, and then he manages to kind of that's it. One of the guys gets his axe or gets the bat symbol that becomes an axe from his chest, which is cool. But they take that, and I think, oh no, they're gonna about to swing down on him, but then something's gonna happen and save him. But he must have like hit him with the blunt side of the axe because he knocks him off the building. Yeah, but it's like that axe took a hand clean off, like in the first issue,
like 3 issues ago.
Did you literally just turn it so it was like the flat side? Or like, I'm gonna give him a nice blunt force strike with this sharp object somehow. It's like taking a knife and hit someone with the handle. Like, why did you do it like that?
It's like, it put me in mind of reverse lightsaber creep. Do you know about this phenomenon?
You would think I would, but I've not heard lightsaber. Do you mean like how lightsabers have become bigger and more wacky kind of designs and stuff?
No. So in the prequels, lightsabers are pretty lethal. Like they can go through walls, they cut through whatever the fuck they touch.
Yeah.
And then in the original trilogy, people get hit with lightsabers all the time and it doesn't take limbs off.
I'm going to have to go, like, it's not that I don't believe you, but it's one of those things where I don't recognize that. And I'm going to have to go back and, for my own, like, perception of it, like, see that. I can picture that being accurate, what you're saying. But yeah, I can't picture a time where someone got hit by a lightsaber and it didn't take off a limb or cause like, like that burn effect, even if it didn't go through a limb. Like, so I'm going to have to go back and re-look.
Yeah, have a little look online. There's a lot of conversations about it.
Yeah, but I know what you mean where if that was the case, we all know now lightsabers. It's definitely episode 1, where they put it through that big door thing that they're trying to get through, and it's just like slowly melting them, and they're like, add more doors, like close more doors, and like, more doors close. It's like still going through. It's like we've run out of doors.
Was that Qui-Gon?
Yeah, that was Obi and Qui-Gon.
Obi and Qui-Gon.
One of those two. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, and the Trade Federation guys on these like, no, there's 2 of them, like that kind of one.
In my scrollings the other day, I rewatched the fight scene between Obi, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul.
That's not a great one, unfortunately.
I like it.
It looks good, but I've also since seen the video where they slow down some of the moves. Yeah. And they go, they wouldn't hit each other if they didn't move.
Yeah.
And that's kind of ruins it for you. It's
not as good as Anakin and Obi-Wan.
No, that's the peak. Oh, well, that or the later Darth Vader ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the best like duel. And that song that plays now, I think it's called Duel of the Fates. Duel of Fates is from episode 1. Sorry, almost got absolutely roasted by the Star Wars fans.
Or Obi-Wan, Darth Vader in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That fucking slap. When Darth starts going like heavy Force user.
Yes.
It's like, fuck me, he is powerful.
And then there's a little bit of like, Obi-Wan, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I'm more powerful now, actually.
Believe in yourself. Yeah. That's the place to start.
Always believe in yourself or the power of friendship. Those are the 2 most powerful things in fiction.
They really are.
So, Well, I say the issue I had with that last up is he grabs the Black Mask and then the guy managed to like scoop him away with the flat side of the axe or something. Basically, I was expecting him to be like cut.
I'm going to be honest with you, it lost me by issue 5.
At this point, I was kind of like, why is this happening like this?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's like really beaten up. He's just about managed to get away. He's taken way more damage than someone should. Again, this is where we're creeping into like, oh, he's just Batman now. Like, for all the differences, everything, he's just Batman.
And then Albert's like, I'm never helping you again.
Yeah. But at that point, what I take umbrage with is when he goes, yeah, I got a tracker on the Black Mask. That's why I was doing all that. And I went, oh, come on. Like, can we not just have him be beat like this early on? Can we just at least have him like lose? Yeah. So he can lose the battle, but maybe come back and win the war? Yeah. No, it had to be, yes, I planned that and I planted a tracker on him. Yeah. But come on. Like, he's really early on in his career. Like, this is the time to beat him. Like, you can beat him now and he can learn from it and come back. Yeah. Like, it's bad enough that he, again, suffered all that and then managed to crawl away and get away and repair himself. He got his arm, like, broken. Yeah. And then when Alfred's there, he's like, Batman's like, either you set my arm or get out, like that. And it's like, I get it. He's really injured and he managed to survive because he's Batman. Like, fine. Like, if you have to continue doing that kind of story writing,
that shtick,
fine. Either he's so amazingly intelligent that he figures his way out of it, or like it plans his way out of it, or he can take such amazing superhuman levels of beating and still be fine. And in this, it was both. Because he took the beating and then he was like, but I planned it because I planned I didn't like that kind of
plot
took
armor.
The edge off.
It's fucking plot armor.
Not only did he survive a massive beating, but he planned to survive a massive beating as well. So yeah, that kind of gave me a little bit of a sour aftertaste after everything. With all the stuff I liked and all the stuff I found cringe, that kind of also like, with some things, the last bit, if the last thing you remember is bad, you go, well, that sucked.
It's the last 5 minutes of the movie, isn't it?
Exactly. And that was my kind of biggest issue with it. But overall, I don't know how excited I am to continue it.
I won't be.
I think if there's like a lot of fanfare about it that continues, maybe I'll read a bit more, but I don't know.
From the limited reading that I do to keep up to date with comic books for this podcast, and I do a lot less than you, I'm not seeing a lot of noise about this one.
Yeah. And it's one of those things as well where you just want to read stuff you enjoy.
Yeah.
And there are parts I enjoy in it, but I can't earnestly say that it's enough for me to go, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Because again, what happened in this last issue, this issue 5, made me go, oh, we are just following the same formula.
It's just more Batman.
Yeah. Whereas coming back all the way round circle back to where we started with the Ultimate Universe, every issue I was like, what is happening next?
Yeah.
Like, it constantly made me go, I can't predict it. I don't know what's going to happen. They had that one issue, again, the Christmas issue, one of my favorite issues of comics of all time, actually. But that one issue where Harry Osborn goes to J. Jonah and Ben Parker. He's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you for trying to. And they're just like passing money back to each other because they're winning bets. He's like, take me seriously, and I'm like, I never would have predicted that. Yeah, and I'm entertained in my surprise. Like, yes, I've not had any, and that's just one little bit. Like, I'm not talking about the best stuff from Ultimate Spider-Man, but there was nothing to that level in this.
Yeah, no, totally. I fully agree with you.
But if you love Batman, it's extra Batman, and it's maybe different enough that you might feel refreshed from it if you've consumed literally every other form of Batman in your life.
Haven't we had enough fucking Batman, though?
I like good Batman. Like, I really like good Batman.
I don't know that I've ever read any really good Batman.
I really like Tom King Batman, but like I've said before, that was controversial. Like, a lot of people
you like Tom King in general?
Yes. I'm trying to think of the best. I mean, yeah, we should probably find at some point, like the best Batman and see how that compares.
We don't have a good track record of that, though.
I mean, we have the Killing Joke, but that feels like not proper Batman, doesn't it? And it's unfair to be like, the best version was an Alan Moore comic. Like, well, that's not fair.
Every time you find me the best version of something.
It's happened once. No, twice. But you were a lot warmer to Winter Soldier than you were All-Star Superman.
And Amazing Spider-Man.
That was nowhere near the best.
Right, okay.
I said I really liked it.
Right.
But that's been universally panned.
Yeah.
You know? That'd be interesting, the best Spider-Man. And be like, I don't know what that would be. But
probably something from the 80s or 90s, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
It might even be like Golden Age or Silver Age.
Potentially. You know what? For next week, I don't think we've got anything planned for next week. Let me have a quick check.
I can't do more Batman.
No, we've got a non-superhero one next week.
What have we got?
There's a series called The Power Fan. So, all right, I should clarify. It's about superpowers.
Yeah.
It's not a DC Marvel superhero thing.
Yeah.
Written by Kieran Gillen. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it next week, but it's a non-Marvel DC one, so I think that'll be a little palate cleanser for you.
Yeah, because I don't know that I like Batman.
Well, that's why I'm interested to see what like a consensus best one, how you would get on with that.
I think the thing that I find with it is that it's both macabre and camp. So I find the Rogues Gallery to be really camp, and the bad guy here is kind of a little bit camp, really.
A little bit.
And so Batman's very macabre, and the Rogues like everything's quite sort of opposite ends of a spectrum with it. And so tonally, I find it a bit challenging.
Well, that's why I think the best stuff, whether you like the tone or not, is more consistently toned.
Because I do generally like The Killing Joke. Like, generally, I quite like The Killing Joke.
Yeah, but again, like a title by Moore, regardless of who the character is, I feel like that's kind of almost its own genre. More titles as opposed to Batman titles.
Have we read anything by Moore that we didn't like? Because we've done League of Gentlemen.
Yeah, which I liked.
Which we will mix. It had its moments.
I really like it.
Wasn't that like episode 2 or something?
Yeah,
as well?
that was really early on. Yeah,
that was a few years ago. We've done his Superman, which I liked.
Which was just a 1-2 issue thing. But
Still
we've got another one of those to do. But that was good.
Still my favourite Superman I've ever read.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've done Watchmen.
Yes, which is its own thing entirely.
What else have we done by Alan Moore? We must have done more than that.
We've probably done more, but I can't think off the top of my head.
We've done more
we've done now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got another interesting couple of weeks. We've got the Power Fantasy, and then we're going to do some Daredevil. So I'll try and see. I'll see if I find one.
You're a fan, aren't you?
There is one, I think. It's a interesting era, but I'll get the best of Daredevil and see how you get on with that.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep it as a surprise, but it's one I think you're really going to, as soon as I tell you the name of it, once we get to, I think you're going to be really happy with reading it.
Tell me the name and edit it out.
Okay, it's...
Oh, cool. That'll be really good.
Exactly.
That'll be really
fun. So we've got a fun kind of 3 weeks coming up. A little more varied, but yeah. So, and I think of the episode, we've said as much as we can. My voice is starting to go a little hoarse for some reason. I may be coming down with a cold, which is just news for Jamie because he's sharing air with me right now.
Good.
But yeah, I think we've got all we can out of it. See, this one, I'm the ailing one. So I'm the one now who's considering maybe we don't do the calls to action.
Let me take us home then.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is I'm feeling a bit kind of run down and tired and stuff. So I'm thinking maybe I don't want to get into how people could write in and tell us what they think at thecomiclair@gmail.com.
So, I think the listeners think that my aversion to this is a bit, but actually my reaction is like genuine.
I really admire your dedication to the bit by pretending to be fed up with the calls to action.
No, I genuinely don't like it.
I'm saying I really admire how much effort you put into reacting to when I tell people that they can find us on YouTube or podcast catchers, and in their podcast catchers they can go and rate us 5 stars if they liked what they heard, and that would help us if they heard it. If you're gonna take disdain with it, or you're gonna listen and comment on and correct me every time.
Yes, I'm going to do both of those things.
Well, as long as you're listening, that's the main thing. And if you enjoyed listening, once again, if you want to help us out, give us 5 stars on your podcast catcher of choice.
I'm just enjoying watching you crumble.
Hey, it's better than you crying about it and whining. And if you want any more content, we have the TikTok where one of us has been making some videos that have been going up on there.
Yeah.
And if you like some more stuff from me specifically, there's the Comic Stand channel on YouTube where I try and get a video out as and when I can. It's pretty sporadic based on how busy or not busy I am at any one time. But that's how you can help us out if you liked it and if you want to watch more stuff of us. And with that, I will say, if I had have said all that, that would have maybe been a bit tiring for me because I might be a bit ill.
Yeah. I mean, you've really...
It's a good thing I didn't, though.
You've really worked yourself into a stupor with that one, haven't you?
Yeah. Worth it, though.
Was it worth it?
But the look on your face, it was worth it.
Do you feel good? Do you feel good about it?
Yeah. You know me. Annoying you is what gives me the life to continue when I can't.
I sincerely think it is.
Mm.
Do you actively enjoy it?
Depends what the mood I'm in. But if we're recording a podcast every single time, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if you can mispronounce a word, compare the Great Gatsby.
I don't think I've ever mispronounced a word.
No.
I'm glad you agree. Anyway, on that note, thank you for listening and thank you, goodbye.